I grew up in what was probably the most normal of normal households. My parents worked a lot but still managed to care for me and my three older sisters. We were never super close as a family, but we never had any issues either. The same goes for my extended family. They lived a few hours away, but we saw each other during summer holidays or Christmas and always got along great. As we got older, we naturally grew apart as everyone started living their own lives. I'm 31 now. Back in 2014, when I was 22 and attending university, I got a phone call from my mother that turned my life upside down. At first, I didn't answer because I was gaming with friends, but when she called again immediately after, I knew it was important. In my family, 2 calls in a row meant something serious, like someone had died. When I answered, all I could hear was chaos on the other end, voices arguing. My mom quickly moved into another room and closed the door. I asked what was going on, and she started crying. My memory of that call is blurry, but she asked me if I had something to confess about my cousin, E. E was 7 years younger than me, 15 at the time. I hadn't even seen her in years. Confused, I said no, and that's when my mom broke down harder and accused me of assaulting E when we were kids. She claimed E had told my sister that, when she was 9 and I was 16, she had been playing in my room when I came in and started touching her and kissing her. My mom said E gave a detailed description of where and how. She kept asking, "Did you do this? Did you do this?" And I kept screaming back, "No," but she didn't believe me. In the end, she put me on speakerphone, and both my mom and dad told me they didn't want anything to do with me ever again. 2 of my sisters texted later, calling me disgusting, then blocked me. After that, I took a long shower, I don't know why, but it was the only thing I could do. Then I started calling and texting everyone, even E, but nobody answered. One by one, they blocked me. My father was the only one who replied, sending a short message, "Stop contacting us. We need to heal." That was 9 years ago. I haven't spoken to anyone in my family since. The aftermath nearly destroyed me. I lived in a haze for weeks, barely eating. It didn't help that this all happened right before I was supposed to defend my bachelor's thesis. Luckily, my co-writer noticed something was wrong and carried the presentation enough that I didn't fail. But no one came to my graduation. The first year was the worst. I expected the police to show up at my door any day. I couldn't get a job, so I lived off savings, drinking heavily and abusing pills. My anger grew violent. The only reason no one got hurt is because I was completely alone. Once, my neighbor even called the cops after I smashed a glass in my apartment, but I convinced them it was just an accident. I was consumed by dark thoughts, even fantasizing about hurting E to get revenge. I hated myself for those thoughts, but they wouldn't go away. Things only started to improve when I landed my first real job in late 2015. Work gave me something normal to hold on to. Recovery was slow, but I started drinking less, smiling more. I lived frugally, saved money, and treated myself with small gifts: a VR headset, a motorcycle, Lego sets. Last year, I finally bought a small house with a garage and garden, something I had always dreamed of. My life is okay now, but not without problems. I've been on antidepressants for years. They help, but not by making me happy, just numb. My trust in people is almost non-existent. I've tried dating, but only went on 2 awkward dates. How do you even explain your family situation to someone new? "Oh, they accused me of something terrible, and we don't talk anymore, but I swear I didn't do it." It's not exactly first date material. The only woman I really talk to is my therapist. She's been my lifeline. Then, a few days ago, something happened that shook me again. My mother texted me. At first, I couldn't even open the message. I just stared at the notification for hours. Eventually, I opened it, and then another message came the next day. The first text said, "Hi, my name. It's been so long since we talked. We miss you and want to know how you're doing." She wrote about my sisters, how my nieces and nephews are growing up. I didn't even know I was an uncle. She ended it with, "Know that we love you and always will. Love, Mom and Dad." The second text floored me. She said, "We understand if you don't want to talk to us after what happened, but please listen. Last month, during a family gathering, E admitted that nothing happened. She said she probably just dreamt it. We were all appalled. We know that doesn't excuse how we treated you. What we did was wrong and we're angry at her. We've told everyone the truth. We want to speak with you again. Your sisters want you to meet their families. Please write back if you can find it in you to forgive us. Love, Mom and Dad. Now I don't know what to do. On one hand, I've dreamed of this day of them admitting they were wrong. But in my dreams, it was dramatic, them falling to their knees, begging for forgiveness. Instead, I got a text. It feels anticlimactic. I'm seething. So many old memories are resurfacing. Part of me wants to unleash my anger on them, to make them feel the pain I endured for 10 years. Another part of me wants to ignore them, keep living my quiet life with my motorcycle and my garden. I don't have friends. The only people I speak to are coworkers, and we're not close. My therapist is on vacation for weeks. That leaves strangers on the internet. So tell me, do I ignore my family forever, or do I answer them? And if I do, what could I possibly say? It's been about 3 months since I shared what happened, and since then, a lot has unfolded, some good, some bad. For one, my cousin is still a complete mess. About a week after my parents reached out, she also sent me a long apology text. When I first saw it, I almost couldn't believe my eyes. She wrote about having mental health problems for years, almost as if she was using that as an excuse for why she lied about me. She said she needed help and that her parents were supporting her through treatment. To me, it felt like absolute nonsense. Growing up, he was always a bright, radiant girl. I never once saw signs of her struggling with anything close to what she was describing. Her message read like a list of excuses wrapped in a flimsy apology at the end. Originally, my plan had been to stay silent, to focus on slowly improving my life. But reading her words sent me over the edge. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I had to respond. I didn't write a novel, though. Just a sharp, bitter message. You think your mental problems are bad? Try being torn away from your entire family for 10 years at the very start of adulthood. Try living with that kind of betrayal. My other relatives may have been in the dark, but you knew the truth this whole time, and it never dawned on you to admit it sooner. You're lucky I didn't kill myself. I will never forgive you for the damage you've caused. Please rot in hell and never contact me again. She read it, there were receipts, but she never replied. Maybe she got the hint. The better news came from my parents. I finally replied to them, too. Started with text messages, but eventually we ended up on the phone. Hearing their voices after nearly a decade was strange. Once, those voices had meant safety and home. Now, they reminded me of the day they screamed accusations at me and told me to disappear. Our conversation lasted 3 or 4 hours. Honestly, I braced myself for excuses like ease, but to my surprise, they didn't offer any. They apologized again and again and admitted every mistake. They said the guilt had been eating at them for years, and now that the truth was out, they didn't know how to live with themselves. The hardest moment came when I asked why they hadn't believed me, why they trusted a child's word over their own son. They admitted they struggled but said E's story was so detailed and convincing that they felt they had no choice. I told them that even if they had doubts, they should have at least offered me help instead of cutting me off completely. They agreed, saying that was the hardest part to live with. They also confessed that after a year or 2, they had wanted to reach out but decided against it, assuming I would never want to speak to them again. That set me off. It doesn't matter what type of person you think I am, I told them. I'm still your son. That comes first. By the end of the call, though, we found some middle ground. We agreed to stay in contact. I'm not ready to visit them yet, but it's a start. Even though I still hold so much anger, I can't deny that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Since then, we've been checking in on each other more often. The conversations are awkward, but they're slowly shifting towards something closer to normal. Maybe one day I'll see them again in person, but I don't know when or how. How do you hug the same people who threw you out of their lives without hesitation? It's been another 4 or 5 months since my last update, and this time I actually have more good news than bad. A lot of people suggested I sue E for what she did, and believe me, I understand why. What she put me through was unforgivable. But the truth is, I don't think dragging this out in court will help me heal. It's been 10 years. Taking her to court would cost thousands I don't have. And honestly, the thought of going through all of that just makes me feel exhausted. Besides, she never took it to court either. It doesn't make her actions any less vile. But part of me feels like leaving it alone is the best way forward. My parents, on the other hand, have truly cut contact with E. In some twisted way, I see that as a form of punishment, similar to what I went through, only this time she's the one being shut out. Believe me, I know what that feels like. A week ago, I actually visited my parents for the first time in nearly a decade. I haven't seen the rest of the family yet. I want this process to be gradual. But we met, had dinner, and talked for hours. The part one was most nervous about was the greeting. How do you walk into a room and say hello to the people who once destroyed your life? I thought anger would take over, but surprisingly, it didn't. When I saw them, I felt something different, almost relief. Maybe it was the realization that, for the first time in years, my life might be moving back toward normal. The dinner wasn't easy. I ended up pouring out everything I'd bottled up. The darkest moments of those 10 lost years, the nights I thought about ending it all, the rage I carried against them. At one point, my mother broke down crying. They told me they know they can't undo what's happened, but they want to make the future different. They even invited me home for Christmas to see everyone else. I told them I wasn't ready and that I want to take things slow. To my surprise, they respected that. And maybe they're right. Maybe the future can be optimistic. I've noticed something else too. The hatred I carried for so long is slowly fading. For the first time in a decade, I feel lighter, freer, like the weight of judgment has finally lifted off me. There's more. I've started dating again. This time, it feels different. I met a woman I genuinely like, and we're taking things slow, but I can see it turning into something real. For years, I thought no one could ever love me. Not with the shadow of my past hanging over me. But now, maybe, I'm starting to believe I deserve happiness after all. Life is getting better. Who knows what the next 10 years will bring? But for the first time in a very long time, I feel like things are finally moving up. So, if you're reading this, take something from my story. Even if you've been wronged, even if you've carried pain for years, things can change. Healing is slow, and forgiveness isn't always possible. But life does move forward. Things do get better even if you have to wait 10 years.